Welcome to the Sandwich Generation podcast, a resource for adults balancing the dual responsibilities of raising children and caring for aging parents. Whether you're helping your parents downsize, explore real estate options, navigating caregiving, or looking for practical advice to help your family thrive, this is the place for you. Join us as we bring you expert insights, heartfelt stories, and actionable items to support you and your family within this unique generation. Hello.
Hey. So we have a fun topic or episode this week, right?
Yeah. We're going to give like real life scenarios.
Tomato.
Scenario. Yep.
Yeah. I say scenario.
Yeah.
But lots of
And I
people
do
say
not.
scenario.
Scenario. Because I'm from Indiana.
Sorry. I know. I wonder what the background is of that pronunciation.
I don't know.
I was talking with a group of people the other day, and we were like, "Do you say soda or pop or Coke?"
Mm-hmm.
I say soda.
Yeah, I say soda also, but my husband thinks that's funny. Like every time I say, "Well, do you want a soda?" And he's like, "A soda? Where are you from? East Coast?" I'm like, just soda.
Like, what does he say?
I don't know. I don't think he says anything. Like he's just.
What do you say?
Like, what do you want to drink? No, I don't know. I don't think he just calls it by like whatever it is, the actual name.
Like a Sprite.
Do you want a Diet Coke? Do you want to? Yeah. I don't know.
Interesting.
But it is kind of funny. But I feel like Midwesterners in general just say pop.
Pop?
Like, do you want a pop? I don't know. I feel like I hear that a lot.
I don't know. Now I'm going to have to start paying attention because I've never said pop.
Me neither, but I don't know.
We're sophisticated Midwesterners.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, goodness.
Do you want to give the list and what we're doing today?
Yeah. So we each went back over the last few years of helping clients downsize and came up with 3 scenarios that we're going to share with each other. And we're each going to respond to the other with what we would have done or what we would do in the situation. And then we'll just give a little background of like what actually happened and what we did.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's no real names or addresses going to be mentioned in these scenarios to protect the innocent.
Yes.
To protect the identity of our clients.
So do you want to go first, Lisa, or do you want me to go first with?
Oh, sure.
All right.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm on the hot seat.
One. I know. Okay. So I am going to pick one. All right. So this is a husband and wife. One of the two is very depressed, like debilitatingly depressed. The other is pretty kind of passive, goes along with whatever. And there's another player in this who is a friend, not related, just a family friend who used to have their real estate license, and they are very eager to help and sort of oversee the process. And so husband and wife have given this person permission for me to share information. I mean, they were there during one of our meetings. And so, they gave permission because we need that if we're going to share with anybody else other than our clients, right? And what else? What else is the scenario? So we were moving out of a huge house into like a paired patio kind of thing, probably about, I don't know, 700 square feet or so. Not a senior community, but more like a 55 and over paired patio kind of home where there's a garage kitchen, living space, bedroom, that sort of thing. Maybe I don't know, more than 500 square feet, about 750 or so.
Okay.
Do you need any more details?
Hmm.
Oh, let me tell you more details. Yeah, I will tell you more details.
Okay.
House is packed. Lots of deferred maintenance, like a lot of deferred maintenance, to the point where the house probably would have a lender would probably have issues approving a traditional financing situation,
Ew, yikes.
but in a very, very, very good location.
Mm. Okay. So we need a cash buyer.
Probably. Yeah.
That would be ideal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you said the wife is depressed. Does
One
she?
person. Yeah.
One
Let's
person. Okay.
assume it's the wife. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's assume it's the wife. And then husband is the one that sort of goes with the flow,
Just
doesn't
goes.
say much. Yeah.
Okay. Does she want to do this move? Doesn't care? Like what's the
Eventually she does. Eventually.
okay. So first off, I think the main priority would be getting them moved first. Like because if we can just eliminate, I'm guessing a lot the house, the current house that's packed with stuff and deferred maintenance is
Yeah.
probably, I would think, a bit of a contributor to some of the depression and
Oh, yeah. That's good.
anxiety kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So,
Yeah.
if we could remove that from the everyday being surrounded by,
Yeah.
nothing else to look at kind of situation, if we could remove her from that situation, I think that would be best. So, I would definitely work with the friend. But I would always make sure that the couple is involved in all these conversations as well. But
Yeah.
have the friend help, work in getting that transition lined up, get them moved, and then kind of tackle the house and see if her, since we're saying the wife is the one that depressed, but maybe once we get her relocated to the new space, kind of make that feel like home, and maybe that would start to lessen the depression part and the other parts of, just kind of dragging feet and not getting things done. The friend probably, I would imagine, at sometimes can be helpful and sometimes not, just based off of my own experience in these situations.
Right.
But
Right.
so I would imagine there would be certain things that I would rely and want to pull them in on, but other things maybe try to just give them some tasks that they could do on their own individually, and um, try to eliminate them being involved in every single little part.
Sure.
That would
Yeah.
probably be my goal. um, and then let's just assume we get the downsizing part done, like we're calling in an auction house or estate sale or whatever, if we can donate items. Then it's going to be the house, like the situation there. What can we having realistic conversations with them about what the property is probably worth due to the deferred maintenance and what our
Yeah.
options are as far as getting a buyer. But we know from doing this that it is usually in the client's best interest to make sure that we list that property on the multiple listing service, regardless of condition. We can sell it as is,
Yeah.
and try to find the right buyer that's going to be maybe eliminate some of those concerns as far as a mortgage and lenders and getting approved from that standpoint. But yeah, I think probably just the first step would be hopefully getting the person that's struggling removed from the situation, and hopefully that would boost some of her spirits in getting things done. And if the husband just goes along with the flow, then he can just come right along with the flow, and we'll get him moved right
We'll
on
bring
over
him
there
along,
too.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I don't
So you
know.
want to know what really happened?
Yeah. What really happened?
Okay. So I met with the clients and they seemed very motivated to get going. The one person, let's say the wife, who was having massive depression, she was very aware of it and very knew that this was an issue. But they also, both husband and wife, also agreed that this was something that they needed to do. And so I left with the plan to follow up with them in a week, so everything that we talked about, they'd have time to sort of marinate with it
Mhm.
and come up with other questions or whatever. So 1 week turned into almost an entire year to the date
Mm.
of them living in the house still, and having depression and all of that. And then the client reached out and said, "Do you remember me?" And I'm like, "Of course I remember, like I sat at your dining room table." And yeah. And then enter a friend
Mm.
who was a previous real estate agent. And well, at some point she entered, or that friend entered, but the husband and wife were mentally capable of signing legal docs. So we should say that. So we eventually got everything signed. They ended up finding the place that they wanted to move to on their own. We looked at a few places, but ultimately friend helped them find the rental that was 55 and over that they moved into. So, great. Thank you, friend, because, that's the first step in our process, right? So
Mhm.
I kind of, you know, let that happen and went along with it. And then we were able to address the things in the house. And we did have auction company came and actually took quite a lot. We were surprised, which I think you probably have had this too. We were surprised at how much they actually took. And the clients were, and the friend was, thank goodness, because if it would have been the other way around, where they didn't
Mm.
take as much as what they expected, that would have been not good. And then, trash haul, cleaning, photographs, all of that. Once we got everything out, there was actually more deferred maintenance and damage than what we initially thought. So then we
Mhm.
had a discussion and looked at comparable sales in the area. Like I said, they were in a fantastic location. And I think that was their saving grace. Like many clients, they didn't have a mortgage on their property. So this was all going to be, equity, but it's also money that they had to use for their care for the rest of their life.
Mhm.
It was important to get the most amount of money. So that's what we did. We listed it on the multiple listing service, and we knew our buyer was an investor because of the condition of the property. So we sold it in as is condition. In fact, this is where I actually met a lot of great investors who kind of have a little bit of a following now. They know
Mm.
that the type of houses that we list, so they're always watching for those, which is great. Yeah, they ended up getting multiple offers. There was a cash offer, and we sold it over a list price. So that was this time last year, approximately. So it's a different market now, but a success story nonetheless.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So my scenario is, it's a couple that are downsizing from a 2-story, 4-bedroom house to a ranch style home that they have built. So we're already in that process, like, of the, so we're now more focused on, like, okay, we're going to get moved. So they have decided that they're going to pack everything themselves and unpack themselves. They do not want assistance with that And even though you've mentioned it a few times, they've refused that assistance. They're going to do it themselves. So move day arrives, and guess what? They aren't packed, not completely. And in addition to not being completely packed, they have also thrown in that they need to have the moving truck stop by a storage unit to pick up several more items that are going to be going to the new house. So that's the scenario. What do you do?
Oh my gosh. I was trying to think if I knew this client. Okay, that's a doozy. I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't ready for that much. That is a doozy. Okay, so clients they don't want our sorting and packing sessions. So that's kind of issue number one. I think I would probably try to get to the root of what that was. Was it cost? Was it a control thing? Was it was it cost or control or something else? I would try to get to the root of that problem, of that, not problem, but like of their choice in that. And then if it was something that I could help resolve for them, I'd try to do that. Now, if it's just that they, I don't know, I would try to get to the bottom of that. And if we didn't get to the bottom of it, I probably would go ahead and schedule the movers, but I would set a boundary with them saying, I'm going to check in with you, I don't know, like a week before move day, and I'm going to check in with you 2 days before move day, and then the day before move day. And if it looks like we need to push move day back because you're not ready, we're going to need to do that, because we can't have the movers arrive at a house that's not ready to pack. That would cost them more money and just not be a good situation for anyone involved. So, all right. So that's one piece of it. The other piece was they wanted the movers to make another stop. And they told you that on move day.
Yeah. Showed up on move
And
day.
in this scenario, I would probably say, I would pause and say, okay, that's a deviation from the original plan, which we gave you an estimate for. So I'm going to need to call the movers, their office, and see what their schedule's like, and see if we can fit this in, and see what the additional cost will be. And then I'll relay that to you. Give me a minute. So I'd call the office and give them that, and give them the address of where they needed to stop and what else they need to pick up. Oh, and the other piece is all this stuff going to fit to where they're moving?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know that.
No.
So I'd probably be trying to look at that too. Obviously, we know where they're moving to on move day. And so then I would get a number from the move company, and I would say, I would add that plus our project management fee on to that invoice, and say, this is approximately how much additional fee it's going to be. And do you agree with this? And at this point, probably have them sign off on something, which we're delaying the movers even more. Gosh, this one's a tough one, Sara. So I would make it clear this is a major deviation, and we may not. So they didn't want any unpacking services on the other side, right? Okay. So this is a deviation from the original plan. It's a good thing you don't want our unpacking services on the other end, because we wouldn't have time to do that at this point. And I would just warn them, since we don't know how much is in the storage shed, that if it doesn't all fit, there could be an additional cost to take that stuff back to the storage bin if it doesn't fit into their new place.
Yep. All good things.
Is there anything else?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. So,
but I would be super, I mean, on the inside, I would be super annoyed, but I would probably be pretty matter of fact and
Yeah.
just, it is what it is.
Yeah. So this was like one of my very first downsize moves.
I'm
And
trying to think if this is
I was going to say I would say you were involved, because you ended up coming and helping me pack up some of those last minute things on
was
moving
this
day.
person moving out of state?
No,
Oh,
that I know what you're thinking of, but that was a different one. No, they were just moving a few miles up the road. But so what ended up
we ended up
happening?
packing. I'm not that nice anymore.
Yeah. So you're right. Like they definitely and it was just a control thing. They wanted to be able to go through every item that got packed. And like we have learned and we can share with our clients is we are not as young as we used to be, and what may have been fairly easy or not taken so much time when
We
we were
as in
younger.
clients.
Yeah, we as just, yeah. Um, it's not as easy now when you're 30 years later. And it can be a bit more challenging. And so we definitely, that is definitely a very matter of fact conversation that we have with our clients now. But I was pretty green. And so I was like, okay, you want to pack your own stuff? You pack your own stuff, like as long as you're going to be ready. And so I think it was the day before I went and kind of checked in on them, and I was like, oh, wow. There's still a lot of stuff in this kitchen to be packed. And so I packed a few boxes that day. I'm pretty sure I called you and I was like, I think I'm going to need your help tomorrow. Like this kitchen is not packed. There's no way they're going to get it done tonight. So you and I showed up, we packed some boxes. We ended up, I kind of just negotiated some things with the couple as far as, okay, the movers are coming. We know they're coming. The priority is we have to make sure everything that needs to be moved that cannot physically be moved by you or in one of your personal vehicles is on that moving truck. So if there are things, if there are cabinets or drawers that you have not been able to go through yet to determine whether you want to keep things or not, as long as it's things that you could easily put in a box or in a laundry basket, like let's not worry about that right now, because you do have some time after the fact to come back and move some of those smaller items if you need to. So they were fine with that. So we mainly focused on making sure heavier things were on the truck, all of that. I let the movers know, hey, there's a storage unit that we're going to have to stop by now. Cost wise, kind of got an estimate for the longer time and travel, the mileage for that. And so I did discuss that with them as far as this is approximately going to add, this dollar amount to the original estimate that we gave you.
Yeah.
And made sure they were comfortable with that. They were. As far as the size goes and having room, like it was a pretty large house. So we knew there was room for these things, but whether they really needed them or not, that was a whole different story.
Yeah.
But that was not my cross to bear to them at that time. They had already made their decisions. So, so we, on the moving truck, we just left a little bit of room at the back, knowing like, okay, we're going to make this stop. We're going to put on what we can. And again, I told them like, we're going to focus on the heavier, bigger furniture pieces that you're wanting to take, because those are things that you won't physically be able to handle yourself, at a later date. So that's kind of how we prioritized what was actually going to get moved that day. And then, we left that day. The move was done. Furniture was in the right spot, but they had a ton of boxes they were going to have to unpack and a ton of things still back at the house that they wanted to sift through. It was just like towels and sheets and tablecloths and like things that they weren't totally sure they wanted to get rid of yet.
Yeah.
So, they did take a few more days than what we originally kind of had hoped as far as being able to get the house cleared out and ready for auction pickup. But ultimately it happened within that following week, and we got the house cleared out and ready to be listed. But yeah, that's really just my little disclaimer on just take the help. You won't.
Take the help.
I've yet to find a client that regretted using the sorting and packing services. So,
well, I was thinking of another couple who we've talked about, who didn't want our unpacking services. And then like months later, they were like, yeah, those boxes are still sitting in our sunroom. Can we schedule some unpacking sessions?
yeah.
And it's like, we could have done it all and you could have been just relaxing in your new place,
Mm-hmm.
in 1 or 2 days. And so,
Yeah.
that's
They
good
sometimes
stuff.
want to, bite off more than they can chew. So,
Well, also, I think any of us, we start going through our kitchen cabinets. Like I'm looking at my kitchen right now. I think, oh, there's not much in there. But if I started going through the cabinets and pulling stuff out, it's a lot more than what I can see,
yeah.
just by looking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Just take the help.
Just take the help.
Yeah, we do sort of a la carte things, but I think where we really excel is when we can just take on the whole project and get it done. So then it's not like piecemeal, it's not like, we're not stopping someplace else, or at least we would have known about that beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
the extra stop
Yeah,
or
it would have
whatever.
been, yeah, good to know. But we still made
Yeah,
it work.
yeah. I can do one that's pretty quick.
Okay, I was gonna say
Do we have time
just
for
from
like 2
time's sake,
more?
let's just do we'll each do one more.
Yeah.
Does that sound good? Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So here's one that happens frequently. I mean, I'd say kind of frequently. So this is we're closing out an estate for someone who has passed, and I'm working with one of the adult children. And this adult child is one of, let's say, 3. And they get along with one of the siblings. Those two, they're kosher. They agree with, how things are going. But then there's another sibling who is kind of not wanting to go along with how the other 2 siblings are wanting to do things. In fact, this sibling wants to buy the house from the estate. They want to buy the house and basically everything in it that the other 2 siblings don't want. So where the problem comes in is that the other 2 siblings, they want to make sure that they're honoring their parents and also that everything's being divided equally. And so there's a little bit of just there's a little bit of a trust issue there. They think brother has been, because I didn't mean to say brother. The one sibling that wants to buy the house has actually been living in the house for a while now. So that person has kind of taken inventory of what's in the house. Other 2 siblings, they live out of state. So they haven't been back in quite some time. This was the family house where they were raised and everything. And so they really feel like they want to inventory everything just to ensure that everything's being split equally between the siblings.
Whoa.
That's a
gonna
doozy,
be
right?
yeah. And that's gonna be really hard to do depending on how much stuff is in the house. But so out of the 3 siblings, is there somebody that is kind of like the executor of the estate that's the primary
Yep.
person in charge?
Yep.
Okay. So to me, that's the person that I am making the priority.
Sure.
And basically letting that person know that ultimately they're my contact, they're my client. And while I know that some of these decisions and conversations that they're going to have with their siblings are going to be challenging, but it's ultimately their decision on what they're going to do. So I'd probably try to provide some just a listening ear and some advice here or there to that individual as they kind of navigate these conversations with their siblings. Be present if I need to be present, and kind of being at mediator, so to speak, which we've had to do, and we do have to do sometimes. But um, ultimately, we need to figure out if the sibling that's wanting to buy the house can actually do that and provide the proof
Yeah.
of being able to do that, to see if that's even a viable option. Because if it's not, then we don't need to really waste our time going down
Yeah.
that path, and let's just, continue with what we would normally do in this situation, which is have family keep what they want to keep, divide what you need to. I think I think the monetary part, as far as being able to split things evenly, I've had that situation too with a few families where it's like, well, the things they're wanting to keep are more expensive. And I'm like, but are they? Because you can't put a price on emotional value. So if
Yeah.
something is meaningful to you, it's meaningful to you, whether it has a monetary number attached to it or not. And
Yeah.
so I think when we're talking about dividing things up, that can be really difficult. Um, so ultimately, it's like, okay, well, keep what you want to keep. And then the things that get sold from the property that no one wanted, so whether it went to auction or estate sale, like that, those dollar amounts can be divided between the three, as well as the proceeds from the house, whatever they
Yeah.
would be. So I think it would just be more of like, hey, every item in this house cannot be attached to dollar amount and have that divided. So I think that would be just
Yeah.
a very um, frank conversation we would have to have, about like, we either going to get this done or we're not, and we can't nitpick over a few dollars here or there. Um, so yeah, I'd have to have that conversation. Then yeah, if brother, sibling, sister, whoever can't buy the house, then we're going to have to list it on the MLS. And um, that's probably the better route to go anyways. I would think would get them the best return for their
Yeah.
parents' house. Um, yeah. And then just ultimately at the end of the day, the person that's legally allowed to sign the paperwork is who we have to make sure is good and comfortable and on board with this. And if they're the ones that have been put in that role, then ultimately that's because the homeowners, before they passed, put that person in that role. And so we have to trust that that's the best
Yeah.
person to utilize and make those decisions. So, but I also would say that's why it's so important to do this stuff ahead of time, right? So that, because can you
Yeah.
imagine if that wasn't in place and you've got
Right. Oh, the
siblings that
PO
are not
or
in
the
yeah,
executor.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be super challenging. So thankfully that was done, it sounds like. So I don't know. Is
Yeah.
that it? Did I cover most of the
Yeah, that was good. The value, the actual monetary value versus the sentimental value, that was good. Because you're right, you can't put a price tag on sentimental value. Um,
Mm,
so they ended up getting an appraisal of the items in the house, which costs them money to get the appraisal. And of course, every single object in the house was not appraised. It was just the things that stood out, like china, mid century modern furniture. There were some musical instruments, some collections and that sort of thing.
mhm,
So basically, a rough idea of the monetary value. They ended up doing an estate sale
mm,
and probably, I assume, splitting the proceeds of that. And then we did proceed with the one sibling that was interested in buying the house. We acted like he was a typical buyer. So we went through our pre approval process. And as it turns out, he was not able to get approved to purchase the house. And
mm,
we did, in fact, list it on the MLS for significantly more than what the sibling was going to buy the house for, and ended up actually selling it for over a list price too. So we got extra more
Yeah.
than what they would have gotten originally. So the split between the siblings ended up being more than what it would have been if they would have sold it to the one sibling who was saying that they wanted to buy the property. So
Yeah.
it got a little hairy at times, but you're right. I kept my contact with the one person who was the executor of the estate and was very careful not to get involved in the family uh, triad. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that's the right word for it, but not to get involved in that dynamic, that family dynamic. So that was something that was kind of difficult because the one sibling who wanted to buy the house, they were actually here, but the executor of
Mm-hmm.
the estate was out of state. So maintaining that, that direct contact with the executor of the state, it was something I had to be very intentional about because, the person that was here was reaching out to me directly, but really my
Yeah.
client was the executor of the estate. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
tough one, but we got it done successfully and um, worked around some of those little speed
Yeah. And I,
bumps.
I like how you said, we just treated the one sibling that was interested in buying the house like we would any other potential buyer. Like, let's go through the pre-approval process. Cause that's, I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, that's, you have to treat it like that because that's our
Yeah,
responsibility, right? We have fiduciary responsibility back to our client. And if we're selling it to somebody that potentially is not going to get to the closing table or is not going to be able to give them the best price, like we need to give them their options, So I think that's
yeah,
smart.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, one more.
Um, okay, let's see. Which of the two? Okay. Well, my third one is kind of similar to the one that you just shared, some of the same stuff. So I'll skip that one. I'll go to a different one.
Okay.
Okay. So you are contacted by an individual, actually the daughter of someone who is living in a house that has a significant amount of deferred maintenance, which we're used to seeing.
Story of
Um,
our lives.
yeah. The spouse has passed away, and it's been like about 18 months since that happened. And so the remaining spouse is still living in the home, not doing quite the proper care. Um, the house has multiple animals living in it, and it does smell. There's a strong odor, urine odor, feces. Appears to have a mice or rodent infestation happening, and the client themselves is struggling just with the overall concept of having to downsize and let go of items that seemingly mean a lot to her. Um, but the residence she has selected, or they have selected, is about a third of the current home square footage. So things
The
have
new
to
place.
be, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We have to let go of some items. So that's the situation. Go.
Oh, okay. Well, my first thought is, do I need to call Adult Protective Services because of the animal situation and the smell? That would be my first thought. And, not seeing it, I don't know what that call would be, but that would be my first thought to decide if, and I would be having that crucial conversation with that person who is living in the house, just that it's not, this is a health hazard. And while, I understand it's difficult to leave and to decide what to bring, you're actually doing more damage by staying than than making this move happen. Damage to the house to their health, and potentially the resale value of the
Mhm.
property. So I'd have that conversation. Uh, the animals, I might suggest someone like a company coming in to clear the rodent situation out, and they already know where they're moving, so we've got that. A floor planning session would be pertinent. So I would go to the new place, take measurements, photos, do a diagram, and then do a floor planning session with the client so they could visually see how, how much they could bring with them and how much they could not bring with them. I would also let our sorters and packers know about the kind of the psychological um, level of our client, and communicate, maybe over communicate, that we are not just packing, we are sorting with a mission to significantly downsize. So don't just pack everything old girl says she wants.
Yeah.
uh, we need to be having conversations with every piece that goes into a box, and mainly just focusing on the essentials. And I might ask if there is a counselor involved at all. I don't There's a really nice way to ask that without, being offending the client, but it kind of sounds like there might be a lot of things happening below the surface than what we can actually see that got this person to that situation. So I might just kind of be curious about that, kind of ask around, ask the client, what's the what is just make sure they have the mental capacity, number one, to be signing legal documents, and if they have any sort of help with regards to counseling or that sort of thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
uh yeah, I think that's about it, right? Did I miss anything?
No. No. Yeah, that's, I mean, pretty much what I did. We did, we got very honest, and, I just told her, I said, look, we can't sell this house in this condition. No one is they're gonna walk in here and turn around and walk right back out. And so, and it's hard with these situations, like, and we do it in our everyday lives, no matter how clean and together you feel like you are. Like, there are things in our own surroundings that we just don't see, right? We overlook because they're there
Yeah.
every day and we just don't see them. Um, and so, when I had to address the animal smell in the home, she was shocked. And then I was
Oh,
shocked that
wow.
she was shocked, because I'm like, how do
Oh
you
my
not
god.
smell?
Yeah,
How do
yeah,
you not?
yeah. Wow.
But we will learn when especially when we're working with, seniors and older people, like, there are things that, um, we do as we age tend to lose our sense of smell. So we don't smell things
Right.
quite as strongly as others. There are medications that people take that make things smell different or inhibit
Yeah.
what they can actually smell. So, that was just a really honest conversation we had to have. And I said, it's like, that's the first thing that I noticed when I walked in the house. And so that
Yeah.
will have to be addressed. And the easiest way to address that is, if we can remove the animals for a bit. And ultimately I ended up finding a home for one of them, which was actually a bird.
Mm.
But
Oh,
yeah. And so, and that helped. That was actually ended up taking a burden off of her. She felt better with that situation, and then felt like the others were manageable. And so, um, it was a long process, and it was just talking with her and figuring out, like you said, the root of why we were hanging on to some of the things we were hanging on. And we ultimately discovered it was some stuff from childhood. But there wasn't, it's just sometimes it's helping them realize, like, just because you have those things within the home, even though they've been in a box or an attic and you haven't seen them in years, like, what is it that makes you feel better about having that? Like, because ultimately you
Mhm.
haven't been missing it because you haven't needed it, you haven't gotten it out, you haven't looked at it. It's
Yeah.
just there.
Yeah.
So I said, we just talked through those things. Like, it's already a memory because it's not in your possession. You couldn't have gotten to it if you wanted to.
Oh, I like that. It's already a
So it's
memory.
already a memory that you have. So what is going to be the
Yeah.
difference in having that box relocated somewhere else that you don't know where it is versus being unattainable in your home currently where you couldn't get to it anyways? You still have the memory. And so it was just like walking through those things with her. And ultimately, we were able to get the house cleaned up, got it smelling better. We did have someone come in and address the rodent situation. And so that greatly improved. And then had someone come in and clean everything top to bottom. And from there, we were able to get it sold pretty quickly. And there was a few little issues for closing. Like, I think that was one of the closings where I think we ended up having to like reschedule it 4 or 5 times, just
Oh
because
gosh.
it kept being little things like, oh, this document didn't get signed by the buyer, and like the lender needs this now. And it was just like,
Yeah.
it just kept. But ultimately, we got to the closing table. She got moved into a new, nicer, cleaner space where um, she didn't have all the stuff bogging her down. And in the end, she was able to verbalize that. Like, you're right.
I wish
I
I would have done
feel,
this sooner.
yes, they say that all the time. And she just kept saying, I just feel lighter. I feel so much lighter. I'm like, well, you are.
Yeah.
I mean, you were able to let go of a lot of things that you
Yeah.
were just hanging on to because you weren't really even sure why. So, I mean, the emotional part that we navigate with some of our clients is, it's a lot,
It's
but at the end
real.
of the day,
Yeah.
and it's rewarding to be able to have that conversation at the end where they're ultimately just saying thank you and I feel lighter. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's real, and it's important that we have those conversations with our clients. And I think it's, again, we touched on the, like, we're an arm's length away, we're not related family. And so it's for whatever reason, it's almost easier to have those conversations with a stranger, you know, than
Mhm.
your own family.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
yeah, that's
she
good
had
stuff.
family members that had been having that conversation, like telling her that
Yeah.
it smells in here, that kind of thing. But um,
Yeah.
she wasn't hearing it because she didn't want
Mm-mm.
to and she didn't need to from those individuals. But when
Yeah.
somebody that's removed from the situation comes in and um, has that same conversation, they tend to listen. So,
It hits differently for sure.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was fun. We should do this more
Yeah.
often because it's kind of like reminiscing, but it's also kind of discussing some of the deep and necessary conversations that we have to have with our clients, and ultimately showing, kind of spotlighting that this is not just a real estate transaction. This is so much more than that.
Yeah. And hopefully, if our listeners can relate to any of these situations, see themselves in any of these situations, like, they'll just, ultimately know that you're not alone. There are a lot of people that go through these different challenges, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It can be done.
Yeah. Know that you're not alone, and know that there's help too.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Very
good
cool.
stuff. I think that's a good time to close it out for the day.
I agree. So, we'll be back with another episode soon. And we'll just ask our listeners to please help us share the podcast, give us those thumbs up, likes, comments, anything that, you can help spread the word. We would appreciate.
Like, share, follow, comment, thumbs up, all the good stuff.
Yep. All right. Bye.